What to share on social media and what not to share? That is the question when you consider political conversations and civil unrest, but also privacy and safety. How much is too much and how much is not enough? Tonight, I asked social media expert Giselle Ugarte those questions. She is the founder and CEO of Action Forward. Giselle, thank you so much for joining us. With so much that's been happening across Minneapolis and the greater Minneapolis area, especially as it pertains to social justice reform and community safety, what role does social media play in all of this?
You know, it really depends upon what role you want it to play. I think on the one hand, and especially as it pertains to your job, for example, is that now we can be community driven in terms of helping to share stories, share news. We can document the process before your team potentially even gets there, or we can help you tell your story and we can provide sources and resources. I think in that sense, though, too, is that what sometimes is missing from social media and the videos and the photos is, yes, we have these plastic devices in our hands that can now capture this footage, but it's also our own personal responsibility to put those pieces together and create context. And that's also why your job will never get taken away, is because of the fact that you're able to help us to do that. But we also have our own personal responsibility to figure out, you know, it's not a matter of being right or wrong, but what are all the pieces of that story that make the most sense and that actually are true. And then last but not least, I think it's also a matter of visibility and representation, where all of a sudden we can be exposed to things where perhaps we wouldn't have been notified or understood or even having those conversations in our own real lives or communities, where in some cases we have those echo chambers, right, of people who have the exact same opinions as we do, or we're only exposed to like a very limited amount of people. And so in that sense, we're able to see beyond just our immediate sphere and then hopefully learn more and start new conversations within our communities beyond just social media.
When things were really ramping up during the trial and with everything happening with Dante Wright, I know for many and for us even in the business, it can feel like you're being overwhelmed by it. As someone who works within the social, would you even recommend people take a break or disconnect during these times? I know sometimes you can almost feel guilty, like I don't want to disconnect because I don't want to ignore everything, but you do have to think about yourself, right?
Absolutely. You know, I think it's important that you do disconnect in your own personal way, whether that means putting your phone to the side or potentially turning off the TV for a little while. Or if you have to deactivate your account, then go ahead and deactivate your account. But if and when you're doing those, and if you're planning on making a return, ask yourself, hold on a second. Is it the social media platform itself? Is it my profile itself? Or am I actually participating in behaviors that make my experience toxic? Because if you take a break and come back and continue to participate in the exact same behaviors that you always have been, then you're just going to continue to the point of burnout and just not feeling great about yourself or the world by continuing to do the exact same thing over and over and over again. And so when it comes to that self-care, Jeff, I do believe that there is actually a lot of health on social media. I actually think that there are a lot of facts on social media. And in fact, oftentimes if something happens in my community, the first place that I go to is Twitter. I'll go to WCCO. I'll go to your profile. I'll slide into the DMs and ask people questions. And that might actually be the first place where I see it before I actually see the website update or before I actually watch the news. I also feel like that is the place where if you're feeling really alone, that there are always people who you can talk to and lean on and vent to. But a couple of healthy habits that you can adopt: turn off your notifications. Sometimes we feel tempted to turn notifications on, and especially when it comes to the news, but maybe turn off those notifications, the sounds, the badges, the banners, the little red button that lets you know how many stories or posts or whatever that you've missed. And that could even be for your emails and texts too. And then that way you're not constantly tempted to, what I like to say, open up the refrigerator, even though that you know that there is no food inside. I think also being really intentional with what you're doing on social media. Before you open up that app, have a very crystal clear cut intention. Am I going to scroll for 30 minutes just for fun? Am I going to go and answer my DMs? Am I going to go and catch up with my friends and my family? Have a very crystal clear cut intention so that way you don't end up scrolling too numb or scrolling because you are numb and for an indefinite period of time where then your day goes completely wasted. So a couple of those mindset shifts, but also those actionable tools will help you have a better experience on social media so that you can better show up online, but especially in real life, and especially when the weight of the world feels really heavy.
Lastly, how does diversity and inclusion play a role in social media, maybe from the consumer's perspective in all of this too?
I think it's really important that when you are signing into social media, that you take a look at who you're following and see who is a voice that is missing. Are you looking at the exact same people all the time? My favorite quote is from Jim Rohn, where he says that you are the average of the 5 people who you spend the most time with. It's not who you want to spend the most time with. It's really who are you surrounding yourself with? And it's not about the wealthiest or the smartest. It's also about diversity of thought, diversity of color, diversity of love, diversity of opinion. And so really take a look at each of your social media feeds and who are the first 5 people who pop up? Who's being recommended to you? And which voices are you missing? It's a little difficult to sometimes make actual friends and in real life, and especially in times of social distancing. But on social media, it is really easy to go track down people who perhaps don't look like you and don't live like you, so that way you can fill your mind, fill your life, fill your conversations, and especially the conversations in real life with other people who can then hopefully influence your behavior in real life and your opinions in every day.
You'll find more social media advice from Giselle on WCCO.com.